Hey, today I'm going to make a video about how I got into the electrical union, where I am at in our program, quote unquote, and kind of my journey through our electrical union, electrical apprenticeship so far. First thing I have to say is if I sound sick, it's because I am. I am home with COVID right now. Very cool. Did not know I had it. All of a sudden, I couldn't smell and taste anything, so went to the urgent care and they said, hey, you got COVID. I'm like, sick. So I'm home. So I don't want to feel like completely useless. So I'm going to try to make some videos while I'm not working. So, how I got into the electrical union. With my electrical union, there are 3 things as someone coming in that doesn't have any experience can apply to. There is residential, commercial or inside, and VDV, which is like low voltage, Cat 5, telecom, stuff like that. When I applied, they told me you can apply to any of them or all of them if you want. So what I did is I applied to the residential and the inside. When I applied to the residential, they told me that there was not that much of a wait list and not a lot of people apply. So for me, someone with zero experience, zero anything, that seemed like a good option to do. I can get experience, I can get in quick, and I can do the electrical and get paid learning. So I applied to the commercial and the residential side. Very quickly after I applied, they called me and said, can you do the aptitude test? So I went in and I did the aptitude test and I did well on it. Not incredible, but I did well enough to pass. After all that, they sent me a letter in the mail about 2 weeks later saying, this is your interview date. It was pretty quick. I got really lucky. I got in almost instantly, to be honest. So I went to the interview. I did well. They're like, hey, I know you don't have experience, but you do understand like what this job entails. I'm like, yeah, I'm outside. I'm working in the rain, working in the snow. There's elements. I have to be prepared for that. And I don't know. I did well on the interview. I didn't kill it, but I did well enough to get in. I lucked out. When I applied, there was not that many people applying in. Now, if you walk into our school, dude, there's so many people there on application day. There's hundreds of people that walk through this school. I don't know what happened. I don't know if people are catching on that college is way too expensive and that you get paid to learn now, or if more schools are talking about trades or what. But when I applied, I got lucky. I did residential for 5 years. I went through our full 3-year apprenticeship, and we actually added another year to it to be quote unquote more experienced for the commercial program or whatever. And I got my license. Very shortly after I got my license, I was transferred into a service van, which I absolutely hated, by the way. And about a year later, I applied to the inside program and got into that. Cut to now, I've been doing commercial for about 2 years now. I'm quote unquote a apprentice, but I have a license. If I walked out of our union, which I wouldn't do, but if I walked out onto the streets, I would be a journeyman electrician. That's what my license says, but with going through the union, basically what they do is they break it apart. It is what it is. It's kind of weird. They don't recognize my license. I'm still an apprentice, but I am a journeyman electrician. I'm about 6 years in to everything now. I actually think I'm coming up on 7 years. But yeah, that's about 2 years in commercial, 5 years in residential. I learned a ton through residential. I would highly suggest, not that residential isn't easy. It's hard. It's really hard. But I learned so much through residential. Like, I just can't even explain. I got lucky and I got put with a good journeyman and we did custom housing, and I was giving the opportunity probably a little too early. I was not a journeyman, but I was running a service van with another apprentice, and yeah, I I did well. I mean, there's so many things that I was put in charge of and did, and I learned so much in that time while I was just kind of like wheeling and dealing and doing whatever I can to learn and to accelerate. I mean, I was doing full like 5,000 square foot, 6,000 square foot custom houses that have like huge light fixtures and all this like custom lighting and stuff. And I was doing this all by myself. It was awesome. I really enjoyed that, and I somewhat miss it. Even though the pay is not what it needs to be, I do kind of miss it here and there. So that's basically my story. I'm going to end this with a couple of tips that I can give to people that would give you a better chance on getting in. First things first, the biggest tip is if you have experience, definitely highlight that on your application. That's one of the biggest things that they look for these days is, do you actually have experience? And what they're wanting you to have is real world, I've been in the field working on something. I don't want to tell people to go work for non-union shops, but one of the best ways to get into a union is work non-union and jump over. That's one of the biggest things they're looking for. I don't like to say that that's the first thing you can do, but that's one of the biggest things they're looking for is, are you actually experienced? The second tip I can give is, if you don't have a higher education, you might want to think about doing that, because that's basically the second thing. They want to see that maybe you went to college, maybe you did some schooling for electrical to show that you actually want to do this, because it is starting to get competitive with people joining in, with people applying. So they're looking for things that are going to set you apart, that set you a little bit higher than the other person that might be applying. The third tip that I can give is, if there is another thing that you can apply into that isn't inside, you might want to consider applying that as well. A lot of people will look at the cut sheet that shows the pay and see, oh, inside makes a lot of money compared to everything else, I'm going to apply to that. That's a very normal reaction, and that's obviously what everyone wants to do, but the biggest thing is getting your foot into the union's door, whether that's being a VDV guy for a while or being a residential guy for a while. Either of those options is great to get you into the door. Those are the three biggest tips that I can think of to give someone if they are applying into the electrical union that they live in. I'm going to wrap this video up by saying, if you have any tips on applying into your union, or even applying to a job in general that includes electrical, leave a comment. I would love to see what you guys have to say about that. If you have any questions, you can either leave a comment on this video, or I have a discussion tab on my channel where people have asked a couple of questions, and I'm actually going to start making videos on these questions that have been asked. So, to wrap this video up, if you like this video, leave a like. If you want to leave a comment on either how to get into the electrical union, you have questions, anything, leave a comment. And if you truly like my content, please consider leaving a subscribe. I have 2 other YouTube channels that I have basically abandoned, but the one electrical apprentice video that is highest on my channel has actually surpassed my highest view count that I've ever had on any YouTube video. So thank you guys. I appreciate the support, and yeah, I'll see you on the next one.